The ancient floodgate, a hulking beast of iron and gears, stood sentinel at the edge of the Whispering Pines OA territory. A thick tree line, more suggestion than barrier, marked the boundary. On the other side, nestled amidst a tangle of wild blackberry bushes and stubborn oaks, lived Silas. Silas wasn't part of Whispering Pines, nor did he particularly care to be. His family had owned the land, and more importantly, the floodgate, for generations. The floodgate was Silas's legacy, a responsibility he had inherited from his grandfather. It was a relic of a bygone era, built with the kind of robust engineering that prioritized longevity over aesthetics. Its purpose was simple, to regulate the flow of water into the Whispering Pines drainage system. During heavy rains, Silas would adjust the gate, carefully monitoring the reservoir levels and preventing the meticulously manicured lawns and precisely placed petunias of Whispering Pines from becoming a muddy swamp. He knew the gate intimately. He understood the groan of its gears, the subtle vibrations that signaled impending problems, the taste of the rust-tinged air after a downpour. He had spent countless hours maintaining it, replacing worn parts, greasing the joints, ensuring it would continue to function, a silent guardian against the whims of nature. Then came Karen. Karen was the self-appointed queen of Whispering Pines, a woman whose life revolved around maintaining the pristine image of her domain. Her weapon of choice was the OA violation notice, and her reign of terror was legendary. She saw Silas's floodgate not as a vital piece of infrastructure, but as an eyesore, a mechanical intrusion upon the natural beauty of the area. It started subtly. Letters arrived, filled with legal jargon and veiled threats. Silas was informed that the floodgate was in violation of several Whispering Pines ordinances, despite not being within Whispering Pines boundaries. The noise it produced was a disturbance, though it only operated during storms. Its metallic structure detracted from the organic aesthetic of the surrounding landscape, and, most outrageously, it was allegedly lowering property values. Silas ignored them. He wasn't part of their OA. Their rules didn't apply to him. He even considered using the letters as makeshift bird scarers in his small vegetable garden. But Karen was not easily deterred. Her tactics escalated. Late one night, Silas found a small section of the floodgate had been vandalized. Someone had tried to pry off a piece of the control panel, leaving deep gouges in the metal. He cursed himself for not installing security cameras. It was a foolish oversight. He repaired the damage, reinforcing the panel with steel plates. It made it even uglier, but more resilient. And he ordered a set of high-definition, motion-activated cameras to be installed immediately. The real war began during a particularly violent storm. The sky opened up, unleashing a torrent of rain that threatened to overwhelm the entire region. Silas worked tirelessly, adjusting the floodgate, monitoring the water levels, fighting against the rising tide. He was soaked to the bone, covered in mud and grease, but he kept the gate functioning, preventing catastrophe for Whispering Pines. Then Karen arrived, a whirlwind of fury and misguided righteousness. She stood at the tree line, her designer raincoat shimmering under the flashing lights of Silas's newly installed cameras. Her face was contorted with anger. "This has to stop," she shrieked, her voice barely audible above the roar of the storm. This monstrosity is ruining our neighborhood. It's unnatural. We don't need it." Silas, exhausted and exasperated, tried to reason with her. "Lady, this gate is the only thing keeping your precious lawns from turning into a lake. Go home, before you get hurt." But Karen was beyond reason. Fueled by a potent cocktail of entitlement and ignorance, she charged towards the floodgate. "I'll show you," she screamed, grabbing a heavy crowbar from her car. "I'll show you we don't need this thing." Silas lunged forward, but he was too late. Karen, with surprising strength, wedged the crowbar into a crucial joint in the gate's mechanism. She grunted with effort, and with a sickening screech of metal, the joint snapped. The gate shuddered violently. "See," she yelled triumphantly, throwing the crowbar aside. "We're better off without it." Then the real disaster struck. The sudden failure of the floodgate allowed a massive surge of water to rush into the Whispering Pines drainage system. The system, designed for a controlled flow, was overwhelmed. The meticulously engineered network of pipes and culverts became a choked, overflowing mess. Within minutes, the carefully manicured lawns of Whispering Pines were submerged. The pristine flower beds became tangled heaps of mud and debris. Water cascaded over retaining walls, turning decorative ponds into raging torrents. Cars were half submerged, their alarms blaring in a desperate chorus. Inside the houses, panic reigned. Basements flooded, soaking carpets and furniture. Precious antiques floated in murky water. The meticulously coordinated color schemes of the living rooms were ruined by the muddy tide. Karen stood at the tree line, her triumphant grin slowly fading as she witnessed the chaos she had unleashed. The scene before her was a far cry from the pristine utopia she had so diligently striven to maintain. Silas, his face grim, watched as the devastation unfolded. He knew this was going to be bad. Very bad. And then the sirens started. The police arrived, summoned by frantic calls from the flooded residents of Whispering Pines. It didn't take them long to piece together what had happened. The security camera footage, clear and undeniable, showed Karen's act of vandalism in excruciating detail. The motion-activated lights had illuminated her like a spotlight, her face clearly visible as she wielded the crowbar. As the officers approached her, Karen tried to regain control of the situation. "I'm the president of the OA," she shrieked, pointing at Silas. "He's responsible for all of this. That illegal contraption is causing the flooding." But her words fell on deaf ears. The officers, wading through knee-deep water, placed her under arrest. As they led her away, she continued to rant about property values and the evils of unregulated machinery, completely oblivious to the damage she had caused. The aftermath was a nightmare. The residents of Whispering Pines were left to grapple with the devastation. Lawns were transformed into muddy swamps. Exquisite landscaping was uprooted and washed away. Homes were flooded, leaving behind a trail of destruction and despair. The OA, once a symbol of order and control, was in chaos. Homeowners, furious and traumatized, demanded answers and accountability. The once harmonious community was now fractured by blame and recrimination. And then came the lawsuits. Every flooded homeowner sued Karen personally. They sued the OA for negligence. And, after careful consideration, they even sued Silas, claiming that the floodgate was inherently dangerous and poorly maintained. Silas, who had spent his life protecting Whispering Pines from flooding, found himself caught in a legal storm of his own. He hired a lawyer, gathered evidence of his diligent maintenance, and prepared to defend himself. Karen, facing a mountain of legal bills and the scorn of her former neighbors, was utterly isolated. Her reign of terror had come to a crashing end, leaving her bankrupt, humiliated, and facing the very real possibility of jail time. The floodgate, meanwhile, became a symbol of the entire debacle. The OA, under new leadership, reluctantly acknowledged its importance and authorized its repair. Silas, after being cleared of any wrongdoing, agreed to oversee the restoration. It took months, but the floodgate was eventually repaired, stronger and more resilient than before. Silas installed additional safety measures, including a remote monitoring system and a direct line to the local emergency services. Whispering Pines slowly recovered from the flood. New drainage systems were installed, landscaping was restored, and homes were repaired. But the scars of the disaster remained, a constant reminder of the day Karen's misguided wrath had brought the community to its knees. The experience taught the residents of Whispering Pines a valuable lesson, that sometimes, the things that seem out of place, the things that challenge our sense of order and control, are the very things that protect us from the chaos of the world. And that a little bit of wildness, a little bit of the unexpected, can be a necessary counterbalance to the relentless pursuit of perfection. As for Silas, he continued to tend to the floodgate, a silent guardian watching over Whispering Pines. He never received an apology from Karen, but he didn't need one. He had the satisfaction of knowing that he had done his duty, protecting his land and his neighbors from the ravages of nature, even if they didn't always appreciate it. And he made sure to keep his security cameras running, just in case. You never knew when another Karen might come along, armed with a crowbar and a misplaced sense of entitlement.